Alright, so this is Chapter 4, Lesson 7, and the name of this is Convert Between Systems. Alright, so basically for this lesson what we're going to do is we're going to be converting between systems, meaning converting between metric and customary units. This is just like last section, multiplying fractions, where we're actually going to be multiplying by a fraction that's a conversion. So what's going to happen is you're going to be given something in one system, you're going to need to convert it to another. So for example, they might give you a question that says something like 10 inches equals, or they might say 10 inches is how many centimeters. Now what you're going to do is write what you start with. Step 2, multiply. And step 3, you're going to multiply by the conversion ratio, and for the conversion ratio, what you're going to do is you're going to write the unit you have on bottom the new unit on top. This is what it's going to look like. So step 1 was to write down what you started with, which is, in this case, let me move this up. In this case, 10 inches. Step 2, you're going to multiply. And step 3, you're going to multiply by the conversion ratio, and the unit that you have goes on bottom, the new unit goes on top. Well, the new units that I have are centimeters, that goes on top. The unit I have, which is inches, goes on bottom. And there's a chart on page 320, and that chart I'm going to look at for my conversion between centimeters and inches. And if you look at that chart, in the green box in the very top it says 1 inch is about 2.54 centimeters. So I'm going to fill in for inches it's 1 inch, and for centimeters 2.54. Now, since we have this set up this way, this is what happens. For my numbers, just like last section, I go straight across. I can make this a fraction by putting it over 1, and on top I have 10 times 2.54 and end up getting 25.4. On bottom, 1 times 1, which is 1. Now look at the setup and what it does to the units. See how I have inch on top and inch on bottom? Well, just like if you had 3 over 3, it would cancel. Inch over inch cancels. So the only units I have left are centimeters, and that goes on top. Anything divided by 1 is itself, so the answer is going to be 25.4 centimeters. Let me show you another example. And some of you might be thinking, haven't we done this before? And the answer is yes, we did do this before. We did this a long time ago, except for we weren't converting between systems, we were converting within systems. Now we're just going from one system to another. this should be familiar. So now let's do another problem. Let's convert 5 kilometers, km, 5 kilometers to miles. So, step 1, we write down what we start with, and we're starting with 5 kilometers. So I'm going to write down, let me move this up, I'm going to write down 5 kilometers. Step 2 is to multiply, so there's my multiplication sign. Step 3, I write down my unit that I have on bottom and my new unit on top. Well, the new unit's miles, that's what we're going to. So I'm going to put that on top, and the unit that I have is kilometers, I write that on bottom. Let's fill in this conversion. Well, again, the chart on page 320, it says that we have 1.61 kilometers is about 1 mile. So I'm going to fill this in, 1 mile here, and here I have 1.61 kilometers. So let's see what we have. First of all, to make this a fraction, I can put this over 1. On top, I have 5 times 1, which is 5. On bottom, I have 1 times 1.61, that's 1.61. I have the same units on top and bottom because of how we set this up, so they cancel. The only unit left I have here is miles, so I write that. And now, let's divide this and make this into a decimal. So in our calculator, 5 divided by 1.61.
3.10559.
Okay. 3.10559. Now, usually your questions will tell you to round this to the nearest hundredth place. Remember, your tenth is the first digit after the decimal, hundredth is the second. So when they say round to the nearest hundredth, you find your hundredth place and look to the right. Is that 5 or more?
No.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh.
So we add 1 to the hundredth place, so we're going to write 3.11. 3.11, the unit is going to be miles. And that's our answer. And that is converting between systems.